sat alone at the big window table on the Galactic Council station. Around her, other beings moved in their own groups. The who looked like walking glass stayed together and talked in fast clicks. The who were made of glowing energy floated near each other and made no sound at all. The who were like big insects stayed in their colony group and worked as one mind. But no one came to sit with. She was human. She came from Earth, a planet far from here. Earth was a hard place where storms killed, where earthquakes broke cities, where heat and cold both tried to destroy life. Humans learned to survive these things. They learned to fight. They learned to never give up. But the other species feared this. They thought humans were dangerous. Had been here for 8 months. She was a scientist. She knew about how life changed and grew. She had shown the Council new things about how species could adapt to bad places. She had fixed a fight between 2 other species that almost started a war. She had worked hard and proven that humans were smart and useful. Still, no one sat with her. The Council chamber was big and cold. Today there was a big problem. A planet called Meridian 7 was dying. It was far away, and they lived there. There were gentle beings. They lived in the oceans and were kind to all life. But their planet was getting poison in the air and water. In a few weeks, maybe all of them would die. The Council had to vote. Would they send help? Would they spend the money and send ships and workers to fix the problem? They spoke first. They said the cost was too high. They said the math did not work, too much money for one species. They said no. They floated and felt the sadness of the moment. They felt bad about but they did not know what to do. They said maybe and nothing and did not vote for help. They said their colony had work to do. They said they were not part of their group. They said no. Then stood up. Her hands were shaking, but she made them still. She spoke about Earth. She said humans knew how to fix broken places. She said humans had made dead lands live again. She said humans could help She said humans never gave up on people who needed help. The older looked at her. His voice was like rocks falling. He said humans were young and wild and unpredictable. He said humans came from a death world where violence was normal. He said humans could not be trusted with such a delicate job. He said no again, but louder. The other council members did not say anything. They just looked at papers or at nothing at all. Then Victor stood. Victor was human too. He worked for the human government. He was supposed to represent Earth at the council. He looked at and then looked away. He said that humans were still learning how the galaxy worked. He said that the human representative spoke without full support from the human government. He said he was sorry, but he did not vote for the rescue either. Felt the room spin a little. Even Victor said no. Even her own people said no. The vote was finished. The council would not send a full rescue. Maybe they would send money. Maybe they would watch and wait, but they would not act. They would have to hope for something. They would have to pray or believe or find their own way. The meeting ended, stayed in her seat. The others left. They walked away in their group. They floated out in silence. They moved like one body toward the door. Victor left too, and he did not look at. She was alone in the big chamber. She looked at the empty seats all around her. She looked at where others had sat, far away from her. She thought about the drowning in poison. She thought about their children who would never see tomorrow. She thought about how the most advanced species in the galaxy could look away when someone needed help. Put her head down, she did not cry. She was too angry to cry. Outside the chamber, the station kept moving. Ships came and went. Workers fixed machines. Traders bought and sold things. The galaxy did not stop. The council had made a choice. Earth was not important enough. Humans were not trusted enough, and they were alone in their dying world. Went back to her small room. She did not eat. She did not sleep. She pulled up the data about Meridian 7 on her screen. The numbers were real and they were bad. The air was getting worse. The water was getting sick. They had maybe 10 days. 10 days before their world became something they could not live in anymore. She worked all night. She looked at everything she knew about saving broken worlds. She found old Earth data about how humans had fixed pollution and poison. She found studies about how life could come back from near death. She made notes. She made plans. She made lists of things that could work if someone was brave enough to try. But she was just one person. She had no ship. She had no materials. She had no permission from the council. She had no support from her own people. She had nothing but the belief that something could be done and that not trying was worse than failing. When the sun came up over the station was still working. She was tired. She was alone, but she was not giving up. She could not give up, not when they were going to die. She did not know that someone else on the station was awake too. Someone else had watched the council vote Daniel cross fixed machines. That was his job. He worked in the maintenance section of the Galactic Council station. He was not a scientist like. He was not important like the diplomats. He was human, and his job was to keep the pipes working and the power moving and the air clean in the station. Most of the aliens did not see him. They walked past him when he worked. They did not say hello. He was just a human who fixed things. He was useful but invisible. But Daniel had seen the council vote. He had watched it on the maintenance feed in his work area. He had heard everything that was said about he had heard the say no. He had heard Victor not say yes, and he had thought about what his grandmother used to say. His grandmother was from a place on Earth that used to have factories and jobs and then did not anymore. The factories closed. The jobs left. The people died from poison in the air and water. His grandmother was young then, and she watched her home become broken and poisoned. But she did not wait for help from far away. She helped her neighbors dig up the poison. She helped them plant new things. She helped them make the land live again. When Daniel asked her why she did this without being told, without being paid, without anyone knowing if it would work, she said something he never forgot. She said that waiting for permission to help dying people was a choice. It was a choice to let them stay dead. It was a choice to say their lives did not matter enough to risk your own. She said humans were made of something different. They were made to say no to that choice. Daniel worked the next morning like always. He fixed cooling systems. He replaced broken pipes. He checked the power lines. But he was thinking about the poison that was killing them. He was thinking about how the council had voted and walked away. When his shift ended, he did something he had never done. He walked to the observation deck. He saw her sitting there, looking at data on her screen. The human woman who had stood up in the council and asked them to save people they did not know. Daniel did not ask her permission. He did not ask if he could sit with her. He just sat down in the empty chair. He put a cup of tea on the table. He let the silence be there for a while. Did not look at him at first. She did not know who he was. But then she recognized him. She had seen him around the station fixing things. She had seen him in the halls looking normal and busy and not important. Daniel spoke slowly. He said he had seen the vote. He said he understood why the council said no. Their math was cold and real. Saving one species was expensive and risky. It made sense to say no if you were the kind of species that could make sense of death. Looked at him now, she did not smile or frown. She just waited for him to say more. Daniel told her about his grandmother. He told her about how humans did not invent the rule that said you had to wait for permission to help. He told her about Earth and how humans had fixed broken places before and could do it again. He said they did not need the council to vote yes. They needed someone brave enough to say yes without the vote. He told her he had worked on the station's life support systems for 5 years. He knew how to make broken environments work again. He knew the science of air and water and life. He had studied the data about Meridian 7. He had looked at the problem from every angle, and he believed it could be fixed. Stared at him, she understood what he was suggesting. It was breaking the rules. It was dangerous. It could end their careers. It could get them in serious trouble with the council. It could fail, and then they would be blamed for everything that went wrong. But they were going to die anyway. She asked him if he really believed it could work. He said yes. He said humans were good at taking broken things and making them whole again. He said the council did not understand humans yet. They did not understand that humans did not need permission to do what was right. Thought about all the months she had spent waiting for the council to understand, waiting for them to see that humans were smart and helpful and good, waiting for them to believe that humans belonged. She thought about how that waiting had gotten nowhere. They were still dying. The poison was still rising. Time was running out. She looked at Daniel and made a choice. She said yes. Daniel nodded. He was not surprised. He knew humans. He knew what they could do when they stopped asking for permission and started asking if something was right. They sat together in the observation deck as the station moved through the dark. Around them, the other species lived their lives. They did not know that 2 humans had just decided to break the council's rules. They did not know that these 2 humans were about to prove something that would change everything. Daniel finished his tea, finished her data work. They did not talk much more that night, but the work was secret. Daniel did not ask for the materials he needed. He took them from the parts storage. He said they were for repairs. He said the station needed upgrades. No one questioned him. Maintenance workers always needed things. The station always needed fixing. He built 3 big machines. They looked like nothing special, just boxes and pipes and fans. But they were designed to clean the air. They would pull the poison out of the sky and make it safe again. It was the same idea humans had used on Earth when factories had made the land sick. Daniel just made it smaller and made it work for an alien world. Worked with him, she did not sleep much. She found every study about Meridian 7. She learned everything about the poison in the air and water. She found the old chemistry from Earth. She found ways to make the cleaning process work on a different kind of life. She made a book, not a big fancy book. Just a simple book that said here is how you do this thing step by step. Even someone who was not a scientist could follow it. They recruited more humans. Lisa was a botanist. She knew about plants and seeds. She said yes because she believed in what they were doing. Was a doctor. He said he would come too. He said humans did not leave people to die if they could help. Stephen was a ship captain who sometimes came to the station to trade. Daniel had helped him fix his ship once. Stephen said he would take them to Meridian 7. No one asked questions. The humans had learned to work in the quiet places. They had learned to move like water. They had learned to do what needed to be done without making big noise about it. The night before they left stood in the observation deck again. She looked at the stars. She thought about what she had waited for and what she was about to do. She had waited for the council to understand. She had waited for them to believe in humanity. She had waited and nothing changed. Now she was going to stop waiting. Now she was going to show them. Daniel came and sat beside her. He did it like he had done it 100 times before, like it was the most normal thing in the world, like he belonged there. He said it was time to go. She said she was ready. They stood up and walked to the dock where Stephen's ship was waiting. The ship was small and old, but it was strong. It had been used many times to carry cargo and people to far places. Now it would carry humans to save a dying world. As they loaded the machines and the seeds and the medical supplies, saw that no one was watching them. No one cared about these 5 humans working in the shadow of the bigger station. They were invisible, and that was good. The council did not need to know until it was too late to stop them. But the council was smarter than they thought. Alarms sounded. Security came, and Daniel and the others were caught before they could leave. They were taken to separate rooms. They were told they had broken the rules. They were told this was serious. They were told they would face punishment. Sat in her room and did not feel afraid. She felt like she had finally done something real. All her months of waiting and hopping and proving had not changed anything. But one choice to act had changed everything. Daniel sat in his room and thought about his grandmother. She would have been proud. She would have said that this was what being human meant. This was what it meant to see something wrong and say no to it. This was what it meant to act even when you were alone. Lisa and Stephen sat in their separate rooms. None of them regretted their choice. They had tried to Meridian 7 was dying fast. When Stephen's ship landed, could see it right away. The sky was not blue or clear. It was thick and brown and poisoned. The wind had a bad smell. The water that had once been clean was turning gray. They came to meet them. They were like nothing had ever seen. They were tall and graceful and made of something between solid and liquid. They lived in the ocean, but they could move on land too. They had big eyes that were kind and sad. The leader was called Keeper of Waters. He looked at the humans and his eyes were confused. He asked why humans had come. He asked why they were here when the council had said no help would come. Told him the truth. She said the council did not know if they could help. She said the council was afraid of failure, but humans were not afraid to try hard things. She said they had come to save Meridian 7. Keeper of Waters looked at her for a long time. Then he said okay. He said they had nothing to lose. His world was dying anyway. If humans could help, that was good. If they failed, then nothing was different. They would still be dead. Daniel and Lisa worked without stopping. Daniel set up the 3 machines. They hummed and pulled the poison from the air. The machines were not perfect. They were not as good as the big council technology, but they were strong enough. Set up the water cleaning. He used chemicals from the own world. He used Earth methods. He made the poison less bad, not gone but less bad. Lisa planted the seeds. She planted strong plants from Earth that could grow in hard places. These plants would help clean the air further. They would help the world heal. The work was dangerous. A storm came and almost broke one of the machines. A quake in the ground nearly killed them all. Got sick from the poison. He could not work anymore, had to take care of him while the others kept working. But they did not stop. They pushed forward. On the third day, the numbers started to change. The poison in the air was going down, the water was getting cleaner, the plants were starting to grow, the machines were working. Keeper of Waters watched the numbers. He watched the readings that said his world was not dying anymore. His eyes made water like tears. He said the humans had done something impossible. He said they had saved his people. By the fifth day, the work was mostly done. Meridian 7 was not healthy yet, but it was not dying anymore. The poison was going down. The water was getting clean. They had time now. They had time to finish the healing on their own. Then the message came from the council station, and Daniel and the others were being charged with serious crimes. They had violated council law. They had acted without permission. They had interfered in matters that were not theirs to interfere in. The message said they had to return to the station immediately. They had to come back and face punishment. Daniel looked at, he was not afraid, neither was she. They had come to Meridian 7 and saved a dying world. The council could do what it wanted now. The trial was big and formal and cold, and Daniel and the others sat in the council chamber, the same chamber where had asked for help and been told no, the same chamber where they had said humans could not be trusted. The charges were read out loud: unauthorized intervention, violation of council law, acting without permission, conspiracy. The council wanted to prove that humans were dangerous and unstable. They wanted to prove that humans did not belong in the galactic community. They wanted to make an example of these 5 humans. They spoke first. They said the rules were clear. No species could act without council approval. If everyone acted alone, there would be chaos, there would be war, there would be suffering. The rules protected everyone. But then something happened. They sent a message. They broadcast it to every species in the galaxy. Keeper of Waters spoke about what the humans had done. He said they had come to a dying world. He said they had worked without stopping. He said they had risked everything. He said they had saved his people. Keeper of Waters said something powerful. He said humans were not dangerous because they were violent. Humans were dangerous because they would not accept that people had to die. Humans were dangerous because they believed broken things could be fixed. Humans were dangerous because they loved even when they did not have to. The message spread fast. Scientists across the galaxy talked about what Daniel had built. They said his machines were simple and elegant and brilliant. Environmental experts talked about his work. They said she had done something that took deep knowledge and quick thinking. Even some council members admitted they had voted no because they thought it was impossible. But humans had succeeded where the council's own technology and resources had failed. They spoke now. They said they had been wrong to stay silent. They said they felt the courage of what the humans had done. They said courage was something the galaxy needed more of. They said that the humans had helped another species survive. That meant they would live and work and trade and build again. That was good for the whole galaxy. Other species came forward now. They said the humans were right to act. They said the council was wrong to say no. They said if the council would not help people in trouble, then someone else had to do it. Then something surprising happened. Victor stood up. Victor was the human diplomat who had said no during the first vote. He said he was sorry. He said he had been wrong. He said humans had taught him something important. He said sometimes the right choice was the hard choice. Sometimes you had to break the rules to do what was right. Victor said he did not want to represent a council that would let people die when they could be saved. He said he resigned from his position. He said humanity belonged in the galaxy as equals, not as a dangerous species to be watched. The vote was fast this time. The charges were dropped. The humans were not guilty. More than that, the council voted to recognize what they had done as service to all species, and Daniel and the others were given honors. But the real moment came when a young was brought to the council. Her name was Coral. She was young and small and lived only because humans had saved her world. Coral spoke with a voice that was quiet and strong. She said humans had shown her something important. She said courage was not about being the biggest or the... Courage was about caring about someone else more than you cared about yourself. Coral said she would tell every young about the humans who came to save them. She said the galaxy would remember. After the trial went back to the observation deck, Daniel sat beside her like he always did. Around them, things were different now. They acknowledged them with respect. They reached out to shake their hands. Even species that had voted no were now talking to them about how they could work together. Daniel said something simple. He said sometimes the strongest thing you could do was sit beside someone who was suffering and say, "I will help you." He said humans were good at this. He said the galaxy was learning. Looked out at the stars. She thought about all the months she had waited for the galaxy to see what humans could do. She thought about how Daniel had shown her something better. She thought about how acting was better than waiting. How love was stronger than fear. How one choice to help could change everything. The galaxy would never be the same. Humans had come to a council table where no one believed in them. Humans had sat alone and been rejected and ignored, but humans had not given up. They had gone to a dying world and saved it. They had risked everything and asked nothing in return. They had proven that some things were more important than rules. Some things were more important than safety. Some things were about love. And the whole galaxy was watching now. And the whole galaxy was learning. And the whole galaxy was changing because 5 humans had decided to sit beside someone who was suffering and say, "We will help you. We will not leave you alone. We are here. We are human. And we will save you." And the world lived. The humans had proven what they could do. They got ready to go back to the station. They knew what was waiting for them. They knew the council would be angry. They knew they might be punished. But they also knew something the council did not understand yet. They knew what being human meant, and they were ready to show the whole galaxy. They had risked everything. They had acted like humans acted when they saw someone dying and they could help. The council would judge them now. The council would decide if breaking the rules was worse than letting them die. The council would decide if humanity was worth anything. But knew something now. It did not matter what the council decided. The humans had already shown what they were made of. They had already proven that they would not wait. They would not ask permission. They would act. And they might live because of it. Why, both knew what they had to do. They had to save not because the council told them to, not because it was safe or easy. They had to do it because no one else would and because they deserved to live. When Daniel left the observation deck, he was already thinking about what he would need. What materials could he use? What could he build? How could he make the broken world work again? Went back to work. She stopped waiting for permission. She started planning a rescue. They were going to change the galaxy, but first they had to change themselves. Someone else had seen the wrong choice being made, and someone else was about to sit down beside her and change everything.